We are now going to create the parameters for California. First, you need to find a map of California and make sure it has all the congressional districts and that it's for the 113th Congress, as there was redistricting after 2010. So here's what a map looks like of California. You can see all 53 congressional districts going from the northern part down to the southern part of the state. So the first task is to create your regions. And what we're going to do here is we're going to combine some of these districts and then turn them into regions. So on a separate sheet of paper, start plotting which districts will fall within each region. They should be continuous in nature, in that you shouldn't have District 1 and District 50 as a region. As we talked about earlier, you'd only do that if you were looking at maybe cities versus rural areas. But in this case, unless you have a reason, you like to keep it continuous and generally in the same vicinity. So we're going to start off and we'll create our regions, starting with region 1. We'll put in districts 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. We'll put district 4 in a separate district with 9, 11, 13. And once you've done that, then we'll go to our Excel sheet and put in our numbers. Now I have put in all of my 6 regions that I'm going to use here. And what we'll have to eventually find out is what the percentage is within each region. And then we'll take a look at gender, age, ethnicity, education, income, and party affiliation. So the first place to go to is going to be the census. So we're going to go back to the census up here, and there's my census tab. And we're going to go into the guided. So when you get to American Fact Finder, it might look like this with a nice smiley little girl. And then we'll go into our guided search. And within the guided search, you're looking for people, and we'll go to next. Then for right now, we'll start with our age and gender. So we'll put age in, we'll put our gender in, we need educational attainment, so we'll throw that one in. And you can see here the number of records that they're going to have, the type of tables. And just from experience, this is about as many criteria as we should put in right now. Later we'll come back and we'll do the income. So we're opening up our geographic region, and here's our congressional district. And we're going to go to California, and then to the 113th Congress. And here we said we're putting in regions 1, 2, 3. If you hold down the control button, it'll allow you to choose all of the ones that you want to put in. And this is going to be the first region that we're going to analyze. So I put in my regional pieces, and we'll come back to race and ethnicity. It's just easier to do it in one, because as you can see here, there's only 12 files that will match what we're looking for, and you're probably not going to find it doing it all together. So here we're going to use S0201, and it's important to write this number down because this should be the file that you use consistently within every one of your regions. I would like to use the most recent data, so this would be 2013, and the most reliable is the 5-year estimate. So let's take a look to see what the information we have in this set is, and then we can decide if this is what we want to use or if we want to look at a different file. And in this case, we definitely want to look at a different file, as this barely gives us some of the information. It's a very specific breakdown within age and gender. So we're going to go back and let's go to S201, and we'll use the 3-year estimate because there is not a 5-year. And now what we have is the type of data you need. We have the 18 and older demographic, so we have age. We have male and female demographic, those over 18. And then we will also have the educational attainment. So we're going to take this file, and you could only take parts of it by using a modified table, but it's quicker just to download the file like this. We open it up, and upon opening the file, we see we have a bunch of data in here, and we're just going to clean this up. But remember that you're using S0201, and that's what we're going to use when we start dealing with all the other districts, and that way we'll have consistency in results. So here is, we're going to get rid of all these folks, and you're going to see we're getting rid of this age and gender category because we have a more specific one towards our demographics, which is an 18 and over crowd right here. So I'm going to take these folks out, and then we don't need this. We don't need this. We'll keep in our male and females over 18. And you can see we could get more specific if we wanted to make sure that there were certain other demographics. But otherwise, we'll keep our educational attainment. And I think that's all we'll take out of this file. So then we're going to go back to our data set, and we're going to go back to our topics, and now we're going to get rid of these, and we're going to put in our income, household income earning, and we'll go to search results, and here we've got S0201, so this one actually fits in there. But let's just take a look to see the type of earnings that they give us. And as we see here, they have industry, occupation, medium income, but it's not actually the type of data that we're going to be able to use because we're trying to figure out what the percentage of people making under $10,000 or making over $200,000, and that wouldn't be available in the table of S0201. So let's take a look at the 5-year estimate from the survey, and here what we'll see is this gives us the data that we want. Income and benefits in 2013. So now we know that within the first district, how many people, what percentage of them will be making X amount of dollars. And what we'll do here is we'll download this file, but we're only going to take out that one section. So again, you could use the modified tables, but I find that it freezes sometimes when doing it, and this way this will work kind of faster for us. And now that that's open, we'll come over here. So now we have our incomes and benefits. We will copy this and put it into a separate page just for right now. And what we want to do is just take out, we're going to leave everything as a percentage for this exercise. We could do it by using the raw numbers, the frequencies, but in this case it'll make it a little bit easier. And what I'm doing here is I'm just taking out all of the other data, and what it'll leave me is with 7 columns, one representing each of the 6 districts. That would be districts 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. And we've taken them all out. Now we'll come over here, highlight this, and actually what we should first do is clean up this data as well. So we're going to just leave in the districts here, and what we'll do is delete this. So that's district 1, district 2, 3, and this is all for region 1. And now we'll just put a space in here to start cleaning up all of this stuff. But we'll take this data set and total households income. We'll come over here and we'll paste that in. The problem is that all of these right now, and this is an easy thing to show you. You want to wrap the text, and then a lot of it is merged cells. So it's cells like this. That some of them aren't necessary. But what you'll also notice is that on all of these, you see this little red dot. You need to convert these to a number. So now they all turn like that into percentages. And now we will take our data here. We might have to paste it separately just to see, because that's how that one's in. And then we'll take this. Again, this data all needs to be converted from a text to a number. So you just convert it and you copy it. And here we'll start over here. But you can see here that these cells need to be deleted. And it's because these documents get merged, and we'll paste this in, and that should give us our it was one row too high, which would be a major problem if you did that. So here's our 7 districts, and we have now our income distribution. The next thing we want is our ethnic groups. So we're going to come here and take out the income folks, go to your basic group search. This is within race and ethnicity. Click on the white, non-Hispanic, non-Latino. And as you can see down here, we're going to have 318 records to choose from. Again, we're going to try to stay consistent with the records that we're finding. And the most up-to-date here, DP05. And just write down DP05. We'll come down here into our races. We can see that the race is right here. These are the numbers that we want. So we're going to go back up and download this file. So it's 3 different files that you're going to have to download for this California. Well, it's actually going to be 4, potentially 5, depending on how deep into the weeds you really want to go. So we're going to open up this file here. And again, we only need that one subset that we have. So you're going to go down here, and we want the Hispanic Latino folks, and we're going to highlight them. We'll come back to our data set over here. This one's got all of that information already, and we'll just paste in these guys. Let's unmerge, let's undo that. So we're not going to need these. All we're going to want is the percentages. And once again, we'll just go through, take out the ones we don't need, delete that, and we're almost finished. Again, you can see that we have a lot of those little red dots in the top left corner. That means these are all going to have to get converted as well. So you'll come up here and we'll just convert to a number. Now there's some data we can get rid of, like all of these folks, because it's the Mexican, Puerto Ricans, and Cubans that make up, and the other Hispanic Latinos that make up this number here. So we can get rid of that group. Then we have the non-Hispanic people. We're going to get rid of that number. And now we have the white people, the African American people, the Asians, natives. Then these 2 we can get rid of as well. So now we'll take this data and copy this, come back over here, paste that in, and then we'll take the rest of what we have, paste that as well. We'll just give a little space. So now you've got all the data you're going to need from FactFinder at this point. And the next thing will be to do is, we'll just move move that back down, is to calculate what percentage of 18 to 24-year-olds, yada yada, come from these different districts to make up the region. So it's a pretty easy thing to do. We just go to formulas. There's a lot of different ways you could calculate it. I'm giving you the easiest way of doing it. It can get much more technical, but you could go here and we can go to the average, and based on each population, congressional district being roughly the same population, then each one of these numbers represents that proportion, 1/6. And if we just take the averages of them all, that will give us what the average is in the district. So paste those down and come over here to our gender breakdown. So you can see that 10.18 would be 18 to 24-year-olds, and it varies within the region, but that's the average, and that's one way of calculating your parameters. And then we'll come down here and we'll do the same for the incomes and the same for, and if you ever see these pop up, the pound signs, it's only because there's not enough space and you just need to open up your cells, and that's why. But that number isn't a percentage anyways, that's a total. So right now we have each one of these sets should equal 100, and give or take a few percentage points because we're dealing with the averages. But when I say a few percentage points, it should be pretty close, within like 1 point either way, because it's only so much rounding that will go on here. The age category, as you notice, is only 77.23. So there's actually one additional step, and the reason that is that these averages are based on the total population, and for our purposes we only care about the people over 18, the 560,000 people. So what you need to do here is just one additional step. You go to sum, and we add up all of these numbers like we did. You see it down here, 77.23, and you have your sum. Then you're going to copy this. You can hit Control-C or copy, and then we go to paste special and click the value. And you must click the value here because this is a formula. If I just copy and paste this in, you're going to see this pop up, and that's because you didn't click and paste the value, you pasted the formula, and the formula is trying to read something that isn't there. So you'll put that in, and then we just do 10 divided by 77. And if we copy these cells and paste them all down, that gives us our new numbers within the district. So that's what this would look like. As you can see, it's 13% is 18 to 24 when we have a different denominator. The next thing to do is use the data set that I've given you from. So now open up the file Congressional 1. It's on your Canvas page. And what you'll see is the voter registration for each one of the districts. And we're going to look at a couple of different ways of calculating your voter turnout, but this is the simplest way for you right now to learn it. So anytime you're going to play with data, we always copy it and paste it into a new sheet in case you make a mistake. That way you still have a good copy right over here, and we can start manipulating this data. So what I want here are the district totals for the first, the second, the third, the fifth, sixth, and seventh district. So we're just going to clean those up. We're skipping the fourth, and we're going to go right into the fifth. And then we'll come down here. And that's what we need right now. So the next thing to do is just formula, auto sum, and learn the total number of registered voters in our district. and we're just copying and pasting these cells. It's the same formula, as you can see here, just being copied and pasted. And Microsoft Excel is smart enough to know what you're trying to do, and it will automatically update it. So you can see up here it's L1, L3 to L8, and now it's K3 to K8. The next thing to do is open up one additional cell, and that's because when we do these calculations, we assume that all of the independents and others are all going to go into a third category. Again, that's a preference of the pollster. You could try to control for the American Independent Party, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, or you can use a catch-all and put them all as a third-party candidate. So I'm going to divide these numbers, and it'll give us our percentages of voters in the districts. The last number that we're going to pull is the size of the district, and here you will go and take out at the bottom of the page the state total, and we copy that number. That's the 17 million registered voters in the state, and here we want to know what percentage of the district is made up of, so it's 12.19. So now we know that within this percentage, we'll paste in, we know that this region is this percentage of the vote. And then we'll move over the other data that we've put together, our party affiliation, we can do that one next. Party would be party, and then Democrat, Republican, Independent / other. And if you just highlight this, and then we'll just highlight the cells. It's always nice to break up the data so it's easier to read. So we'll just put a little yellow line across as we do this. And now you will go over to your data and your congressionals, and we know that this is the percentage of Democrats, Republicans, and others. And we'll put this back into our parameters. Again, remembering to paste it as a value, and then we can just copy this, paste it, and copy this and paste it. As you can see, these are large numbers here. If you want to turn them into percentages, then just go to Format Cells, click Percentage, 2 decimal points, click OK. Now you see that they're nice percentages. I'm now going to go back and move over all of my data into here, and then we'll continue. So now that I put my data in, I've got the percentage of the district that is registered voters, my party affiliation, the ethnicity, the age breakdown, and again, everything here should equal around 100%. The only difference will be in the age category and maybe in the it really should just be the age. But if something is off by a small percent, now you can see here the 3107, what I did was made a mistake in putting in this data, which is why you always double check what you're doing. And if we take a look at our data, you can see instead of putting in 3107, I should have put in 2508. So what I'll do is just go back to my data set, and we'll paste in our value, and that will give us our 100%. So now we'll go and do this for all of the remaining districts, and then we'll come back. So now I've put in all of my data for all the different districts, and if you add them up, you'll see that this one comes to roughly 100. It's a little bit higher because we rounded up a little bit. And then as you do all of the rows, that should be 600. So, and then this row, and you just keep looking at the sum to make sure that you're hitting, each one of these should be 100, 100, so on and so forth. And it's important for you to go through and make sure that all of your numbers are accurate, because you can just quickly go like this and make sure that they all get to 600. This should be 600. This should be 600. Again, 600. It's a little bit off, but that's because we're rounding. It's off by 0.7%. So 600, and now party affiliation we looked at 600. So that gives us our data set, and that could be our parameters. Now some of you might really want to learn a little bit more into this, and let me show you a little bit more of an advanced technique. We're going to go now to the Secretary of State page. So now what we could look at is the actual voter turnout. And here you go to the Secretary of State, and here we're in California. And we'll go down to prior elections. And then within prior elections, and a little too fast, go to our general election results 2012. We'll take a look at our final election results. And within our election results, we'll take a look at we want to look at it by congressional districts. Excel sheet, and we'll open up and here we can see our districts very similar to what we looked at before with voter registration. So here's our first district. Again, because we're going to manipulate the data, we'll take this out and we'll highlight the whole thing and we'll put it on a new page. Again, I would clean it up so it's just the part that we need. And what we're looking at here is we want to know the total number of votes coming out of each district, out of each region. So here we're just going to look at just the first one, just so you guys can see what you would do when you go to the next level. But obviously right now we're just getting through the first level. So as you can see, we've gone through, and those are our 6 districts. We'll just erase those for right now. And we'll just go to our formulas. And again, because it's small, and we just need to redo this row as format cells. Here we, instead of a percentage now, we want them to be a number. And let's just make this a little bit bigger for all of us. So this would be the number of Democrats, Republican votes for the different, oops, got a little excited there, and just do another formula here. We'll do an auto sum of all of these numbers. So we know that out of the first district, roughly at the first region that we've created, there was roughly 1.7 million votes. And if we just do the percentage, and we're going to just format these cells because they're back to numbers. We want them to be percentages. And here's our percentage. Obama won this district pretty handily, which is just something that as a strategist you want to know what's going on within each one of your districts. The other question you have is the total. We have to then just go back to get the total vote count. So here we'll just do the president by county, open it up as an Excel sheet. We'll open up our file, and within the 10 president, at the bottom you'll see is the total vote in the state, and we'll go back to our by president. Put it on a fresh sheet, and if we just add up this column right here, we can see that formulas, there was roughly 13 million people that came out and voted. So paste that right there as a value. We don't want it to be a percentages. We want it to be a number. And then do an equal. We have our percentage there. And you can see that while the numbers don't differ greatly, there is a little difference in that that was the actual percent of the vote that came out. It was 12.8 or 12.9, and we had it at 12.2. So that's one additional step that you could take when you do your voter turnout analysis to make sure that it's not just based on the registered voters, it's based on the turnout percentage. But you wouldn't just look at 2012, you would also do 2008, at least 2 presidential years, maybe even 2004, and average out those 3. But you'd also take a look at the voter registration numbers to see if those numbers have increased, decreased, or maintained the status quo in order to be able to better predict the turnouts within each region. One more step that you could take is to use the hot report by the census. We'll do that. So now we'll go to the data web. This is the census voting and registration. And what we could learn here, and if you're working on a campaign, you're going to have a lot more data to choose from. But if you're not, and you're doing this for some other reason, and you don't really have access to all of the data, you would then come to the voting and registration, and we'll take a look at California 2012, and we'll submit this. And what it'll tell us is the normal turnout percentages for each age, gender. So let's just keep it simple. So we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to take a look at gender, and you'll see that 56% of males and 59% of females voted. Well, if you go back to that first data set that we used, the S0201, you'll see that we have the percentage of males and females over that age. So we're just going to add up this number, and go to our formulas, go to auto sum. So we're expecting about 3.2 million folks in the district, and these are all people over 18. Not that they're registered, it's just that they're over 18. So if you multiply this out, copy that. You see, like, we're expecting this percentage. We have this percentage of the vote. Now that we know that 0.56 of males and 0.59 of females will vote, it's just calculating it one more time, and we can estimate roughly 1.9 million votes out of the district of folks based on those percentages. As you work on a campaign, you would have a lot more data available to you, but that would be something more advanced that I just wanted to show you. So that is your exercise. Try to fill out all of these areas and make sure that you have the proper proportions, and then we'll discuss the next steps in class.